Christmas bonus, an amount which came as news to the band.
We was like, you fucking, you're gonna fucking die, you.
I may not have told them about that advance, but I didn't tell them about anything to do with the business. It wasn't their job. Manny was never the brains in the band.
After 8 more weeks of legal wrangling, the Stone Roses arrived at court to hear their fate.
When the judge came to look at the contract, he basically struck it down on 2 or 3 essential issues. One was the length of the tie, 7 albums. The judge thought that was too much. The second thing was that there was no real obligation on the record company to release product. The band could be sterilized for a very long period of time, and the judge felt that that was not justifiable.
For the man who'd played a key role in transforming the Stone Roses from no-hopers into one of Britain's biggest bands, it was a devastating personal blow.
I felt let down because we'd invested a lot of time and effort, and I thought everybody involved had done a very good job, and it was the right thing at the right time, and then we got the right people, and we'd made the right record with the right producer, and how often does this happen, So it was very disappointing to see it ending up this way.
Freed from their Silvertone contract, the Stone Roses could at last sign to Geffen and collect an advance of just over £2 million. But it wasn't just the money that was no different. The string of courtroom revelations had changed the band's relationship with their manager Gareth Evans for good.
That was a minor fracas between the band and management. It will be okay. Our solicitors will sort it out.
In retrospect, I should have been more open with the band on the legal costs. But, they always told me they didn't want to be bothered with all that. They trusted me. I know that.
When there's that loss of trust, it's like if someone shags your missus, man, then you're never going to be able to trust that person again.
Within weeks of the Silvertone verdict, Evans was sent a letter informing him he'd been sacked.
What upset me was the Roses really didn't understand what I'd done. But then I was beginning to think that they weren't clever. The band were never clever. They were never a clever band.
But the Stone Roses would also pay a heavy price for their newfound freedom. With money to burn, the band slowly started to drift apart. When John Squire and Ian Brown bought themselves houses in Manchester's exclusive stockbroker belt, the dynamics of the band changed overnight.
We kind of prided ourselves on being the last gang in town, and we all lived relatively close to each other, and we used to hang out in each other's houses and stuff, and then everyone starts moving away and stuff like that, so you haven't got that kind of gang mentality anymore, and that made life really kind of difficult as well.
When money does come in and, one member buys an house there and one member buys an house there, and then that's when it all starts falling to bits. You've got to stick together.
In 1992, 3 long years after the release of their first album, the Stone Roses went back into the studio to start work on the follow-up.
When Silvertone injuncted us, it was so difficult to regenerate the momentum, get it going again, and that's probably the times when we thought of just fucking calling it a day sometimes, but then thought, no, we can't, we've manoeuvred ourselves into this position now. It's only fair that we give it a shot,
I need to be myself.
But times were changing. As the Stone Roses struggled to recapture their magic, a new wave of bands were rewriting the musical landscape, led by Manchester's latest pop prodigies, Oasis.
We want to blow out every other band into oblivion. As simple as that.
Amongst their first victims were the Stone Roses. When the new album, called The Second Coming, finally hit the shops, more than 5 years after its predecessor, it bombed.
We approached it in a different way. We didn't have the songs before we waited. We thought, right, well, the most stupid, expensive way to do it is to move into a studio and try and write as you go. And it just went tits up. absolutely tits up. It was just like throwing money into a bottomless pit.
And in a dramatic final twist, the Stone Roses now discovered that they were being sued by Gareth Evans.
When we heard that, Gareth was then going to take us to court for breach of management contract. After we'd fucking stopped pissing our sides laughing, then the anger started, you know. The guy's got some balls and some neck, you know.
People ask me a lot of times, why take them to court? Why the aggravation? I wanted my money.
And Evans knew just how to get it.
I started collecting paperwork ages before the court case. I got letters saying how instrumental I was in helping the band. I had letters from Silvertone. I had letters from lots of people. I started building up a file.
Faced with such a wealth of written evidence, the band's legal team had little option but to back down, offering Evans an out-of-court settlement in the process.
You know, I thought with the amount of evidence that we had on him, no judge in the land would kind of find in his favour, but I think we must have used all our luck up with Judge Gerald Humphreys, man, to get out of the Silvertone deal in the first place, you know. Maybe we were due a kick up the arse.
I see trees of green.
Evans ploughed the money into his latest venture, a luxury 27-hole golf course on the outskirts of Manchester.
Of course the Stone Roses money went into the golf course, but money came from membership, from banks, and from other sources.
But exactly how much of the course was paid for by his ex-employers remains a mystery.
To this day, I don't know how much we got. Approximately, was it 100,000? Was it £1 million? Was it £2 million? I'm not sure.
In October 1996 came the news that the Stone Roses had split. For the band which had spearheaded the reinvention of British pop, it was clear that their time had been and gone.
Musically, they could have been bigger than the Beatles, you know, because they had it.
While money, personal rivalry and changing tastes all played their part, some say the roots of the Roses' downfall go much, much further back.
You have to lay responsibility with someone who's the manager of the group if it doesn't work out, you know, because that's what you do. You are managing their career, presumably.
The Roses' career ground to a halt, but no blame can be attached to me whatsoever. It was self-destructive once I'd gone.
The Stone Roses would have happened without Gareth. They happened despite Gareth. They would probably still been together in one form or another and been a lot more successful if Gareth hadn't got involved. He was chaos.
The band's grievances were built from smoking too much dope and paranoia. I was the best thing that ever happened for them.
But what they had at that time, fucking hell, my left leg could have fucking managed to have made them big.
I have regrets with my time with the Stone Roses. The regrets are that I never showed my true feelings to them. I really loved those guys, but it never worked out.
What a fucking... I don't know, but, yo, if a guy's got a neck like that, then fair play to him, you know, he's got to live with himself. Come the judgment day, man, he's got a lot of fucking questions to ask himself, you know.
But one question Evans has the answer to is what he'd do if the Stone Roses ever got back together again.
If the Stone Roses reformed, I'd jump at the chance to manage them. They can only be great with me. I am one of the Stone Roses. I am the Stone Roses. That's crap. No, that is... I am the Stone Roses. What a load of fucking lies. I can't even play a guitar.